It's our stories. Welcome to a world where real stories sounds like a movie script.
Do you think the worst part of cheating is the physical act? No. The worst part is reading how they laugh at you, how they discuss your dreams, your gifts, and your fears, calling you a pathetic loser while you pay for their dinners. I found an archive that destroyed my soul, but in return, it gave me the icy calm of an executioner. Listen to how I turned their laughter into screams of terror. They say that love is blind, but they forget to mention that love is also deaf and dumb. It turns you into a smiling idiot who walks straight into a burning building because someone told you it was a warm fireplace. My name is Michael. I'm 32 years old, I work in architectural design, and up until 48 hours ago, I thought I was the luckiest man in the city. I had a beautiful home with a view of the skyline. I had a bank account that was finally looking healthy after years of grinding. And I had Emily. Emily was the kind of woman who walked into a room and the temperature changed. Charismatic, sharp, beautiful in that effortless way that makes other people nervous. We had been married for 5 years. 5 years of what I thought was partnership, laughter, and building a life. And then there was Damien. Every couple has that one friend, right? The best friend. Damien was Emily's friend from college. He was the guy who was always there. He came to our barbecues. He was at our wedding, standing on her side, making a toast about how lucky I was to snag her. Damien was cool. He was a musician who never really made it, working odd jobs, always a bit broke, but charming. I liked him. I genuinely liked him. I lent him money. I let him crash on our couch when his landlord kicked him out. I thought of him as a brother. I was such a fool. It started on a Tuesday night. A mundane, boring Tuesday. Emily was already asleep upstairs. She had been exhausted lately, going to bed early, claiming migraines. I was downstairs in the living room, trying to find a specific photo from our honeymoon to use for a project I was working on. I remembered we had backed up all our old photos onto an old iPad that was collecting dust in the junk drawer. I dug it out, blew off the dust, and plugged it in. It had barely any battery life left. The screen cracked in a corner. I turned it on. The familiar glow illuminated the dark room. I guessed the passcode, her birthday, obviously, and went into the photo gallery. I found the honeymoon photos. God, we looked young. I looked at myself in those pictures, smiling, tanned, holding her hand. I looked happy. I scrolled through them, feeling a warm nostalgia. Then, a notification popped up at the top of the screen. Sync complete. 12,400 messages downloaded. I frowned. Messages? This iPad hadn't been used in 2 years. It must have connected to the Wi-Fi and auto-synced with her iCloud account. I should have put it down. I should have just emailed the photos to myself and turned the device off. But curiosity is a snake. It strikes before you even realize you're in danger. I saw the messaging app icon. It had a red badge with a number that made no sense. But what caught my eye was the preview of the last message synced. It was from Damien. The preview read, "He actually wore that? Tell me you're joking." I would have died laughing. My heart skipped a beat. Just one beat. Wore what? I whispered to myself. I tapped the icon. The interface loaded. The chat with Damien was at the top. It was pinned. I opened it. The most recent messages were from earlier that day, while I was at work, while she was supposedly busy with meetings. Emily. He came home with this ridiculous tie today. He looked like a used car salesman. I had to bite my cheek to stop from screaming. Damien. LMAO. The guy has zero taste. Did he try to touch you? Emily, ugh. Tried. I told him I had a headache. I can't do it, D. His hands feel clammy. I just kept thinking about last night with you. The world stopped. The air left the room. It felt like someone had swung a sledgehammer into my sternum. I sat there, frozen, staring at the glowing screen. Last night with you. I reread it. Once. Twice. 10 times. The words didn't change. My brain tried to reject it. Maybe it's a joke. Maybe they're role-playing. But deep down, the nausea rising in my throat told me the truth. I scrolled up, and I kept scrolling. This wasn't just a fling. This wasn't a one-time mistake. The chat history went back years. Years. I started reading from the beginning of the month. It was like stepping into a parallel dimension. In my world, Emily was my loving wife. In this chat, she was a cruel, cynical stranger who despised me. Damien was the idiot leaving for his business trip. Emily, Thursday. Finally. God, he's been so clingy lately. Following me around the house like a puppy. It's pathetic. Damien, well, at least the puppy pays the bills. Did he transfer the money for the car repair? Emily, yeah, this morning. He didn't even ask to see the receipt. He trusts me so much it's almost insulting. Like, how can you be that stupid? I felt tears burn in my eyes. Not sad tears. Angry, hot tears. I paid for her car repair last week. $1,200. She told me the transmission was shot. I scrolled further. Damien, I miss your skin. I miss the noise you make. Emily, don't start. I'm sitting across from him at dinner, and he's talking about tile samples. I want to stab myself with a fork. I just want to be in your bed. They talked about sex. Explicitly. Graphic details of what they did, where they did it. In his apartment. In my car. In my house when I was working late. But the sex wasn't the worst part. The worst part was the laughter. They had a running commentary on my life. They mocked my promotion. He thinks he's a big shot now. Middle management at best. It's hilarious watching him try to be assertive. They mock my body. He's gaining weight. He looks soft. Not like you, babe. You're hard everywhere. They mock my dreams. I had told Emily a year ago that I wanted to learn to play the guitar. She had smiled and bought me lessons for my birthday. I thought she was supportive. Emily, a year ago he's playing Wonderwall downstairs. It sounds like a dying cat. I had put headphones on. Damien, record it. I need a good laugh. Emily, audio message. Damien, ha ha ha. Oh my God. Tell him he's a rock star, so he keeps embarrassing himself. I remember that day. I played for her. She clapped. She kissed me and said I was getting better. She was texting him the audio recording while I was strumming, laughing at me. I felt physically sick. I stood up and ran to the downstairs bathroom, barely making it to the toilet before I dry heaved. My stomach was empty, so nothing came out but bile and the bitter taste of betrayal. I washed my face with cold water. I looked at myself in the mirror. You idiot, I whispered. You blind, useful idiot. I went back to the iPad. I needed to know everything. I needed to drink the poison until the cup was empty. I found messages from my father's funeral 6 months ago. My dad died of cancer. It was the hardest week of my life. I was a wreck. Emily held me at the funeral. She wiped my tears. I searched for the date. Emily, this funeral is dragging on forever. Why do they have to do so many speeches? Damien, just look sad, babe. Put on the performance. Emily, I am. He's sobbing into my shoulder right now. Snot and everything. It's so gross. He's such a baby. Men should be strong, you know? Damien, he's weak. That's why he needs you to mommy him. Just think about the inheritance. Did he get anything? Emily, not much. But enough for us to take that trip to Cabo we talked about. I'll convince him we need a mental health break after all this grief. I dropped the iPad on the couch. My hand was shaking so violently I couldn't make a fist. The trip to Cabo. We went there. I paid for everything. I thought it was her idea to help me heal. She took me there to spend my dead father's money while she sexed her lover from the hotel bathroom. A coldness washed over me. The initial shock was fading, replaced by a dark, heavy rage. It was a quiet rage, the kind that doesn't scream, the kind that plans. I looked up at the ceiling. She was sleeping right above me, probably dreaming about him. I had an urge, a primal, violent urge to run upstairs, wake her up, and scream until my throat bled, to throw the iPad at her, to kick her out into the street in her pajamas. But then I looked at the screen again. Damien, he's too nice. He'll never catch us. He's the perfect mark. The perfect mark. If I woke her up now, there would be crying. There would be gaslighting. She would blame me. She would say I drove her to it. Then there would be a divorce. She would take half. She would play the victim. Damien would probably move in the next day. No, that wasn't enough. I didn't want a divorce. I wanted destruction. I wanted to wipe that smirk off Damien's face. I wanted Emily to feel the humiliation she had been serving me for years. I picked up the iPad again. I needed to save this. All of it. I spent the next 4 hours taking screenshots. Hundreds of them. I recorded videos of the scrolling chat just in case the screenshots were questioned. I emailed everything to a new, secret email account I created on the spot. I backed it up to a secure cloud drive. By the time the sun started to peek through the blinds, I had a dossier of over 5,000 pages of evidence. Evidence of adultery. Evidence of financial manipulation. Evidence of pure, unadulterated malice. I heard footsteps upstairs. The floorboards creaked. She was waking up. I quickly wiped the iPad down, plugged it back in exactly how I found it, and sat on the couch. I turned on the TV to the news, keeping the volume low. Emily walked down the stairs a few minutes later. She was wearing her silk robe, the one I bought her. She looked sleepy and soft. Morning, she yawned, walking into the kitchen. You're up early. Did you sleep down here? I looked at her. For the first time in 5 years, I didn't see my wife. I saw a stranger. I saw an enemy. I forced the muscles in my face to form a smile. It felt like wearing a mask made of broken glass. Yeah, I said, my voice surprisingly steady. Just couldn't sleep, thinking about work. She came over and kissed me on the forehead. Her lips felt like burning branding irons. Poor baby, she cooed. You work too hard. You should ask for a raise, so I can buy you more gifts to mock. I thought, maybe I will, I said. Hey, are we still seeing Damien this weekend? For the barbecue. She paused, pouring coffee. She didn't turn around, but I saw her shoulders stiffen slightly. I think so, she said casually. He said he might stop by. What? Good, I said, staring at her back. I haven't seen him in a while. I really want to catch up. The game had begun. They had been playing me for a fool for 4 years. Now, it was my turn to play, and I was going to change the rules. The next 3 days were an exercise in psychological torture. I didn't confront her. I didn't pack my bags. I did exactly what a sniper does. I dug a hole, I camouflaged myself, and I waited for the target to walk into the crosshairs. I want to work as usual, but instead of designing facades, I was building a war room. I bought a burner phone and logged into the secret cloud account where her messages were syncing. Now, I didn't need the old iPad. I could read their conversation in real time. It was masochistic. I would be sitting at my desk, my phone would buzz, and I'd look down to see my wife texting her lover about me. Wednesday, 10:15 a.m. Emily. He kissed me goodbye this morning and said I looked pretty. I haven't washed my hair in 3 days. He's so desperate for approval it's gross. Damien, just pat him on the head, good doggy. Did you ask about the weekend money? Emily, not yet. I'll do it tonight after I let him watch his stupid sci-fi show. He's always pliable when he's relaxed. I read that text while staring at a blueprint. I snapped the pencil in my hand. Pliable. Like I was putty. Like I was a child. I left the office early and went to see a lawyer. Not the friendly family attorney we use for the house closing. I found a shark. A woman named Stone who specialized in high-conflict divorces. I sat in her office and laid it all out. The screenshots. The audio files. The financial records. Stone looked through the file without blinking. She had seen it all before. Mr. Reynolds, she said, taking off her glasses. You have enough here to divorce her 10 times over. In a fault state, you'd crucify her. But we are in a no-fault state. The infidelity won't heavily impact the asset division unless we can prove she spent marital assets on the affair. She did, I said, my voice cold. The Cabo trip, the dinners, the car repairs. I paid for all of it while she was with him. Good, Stone nodded. We can claw that back. But what is your goal? Do you want a quick exit? Or do you want to hurt them? I looked her dead in the eye. I want him bankrupt. And I want her to leave with nothing but the clothes on her back. Stone smiled. It was a terrifying smile. Then don't file yet. We need to move your assets. We need to separate your finances legally before we drop the bomb. Give me 2 weeks to set up the trusts and shelters. Can you play the loving husband for 2 more weeks? I can play the role of a lifetime, I said. The real test came on Saturday. The barbecue. Damien arrived at 2 p.m. He walked into my backyard wearing sunglasses and a t-shirt that was too tight, carrying a cheap 6-pack of beer. Mikey, he shouted, spreading his arms. The man, the myth. How's the corporate life treating you? I had a spatula in my hand. It would have been so easy. One swing to the temple. Instead, I smiled. The useful idiot smile. Hey, Damien, I said, shaking his hand. His palm was sweaty. I fought the urge to wipe my hand on my apron. Good to see you, man. Thanks for coming. Wouldn't miss it, he grinned, looking past me toward the kitchen where Emily was making salad. Smells good. What are you grilling? Ribeyes, I said. Aged. Fancy, he scoffed, popping open a beer. Must be nice to have that kind of budget. I watched him walk over to Emily. I saw the look they exchanged. It was subtle, a quick glance, a smirk, but now that I knew the code, it was screaming. He touched her lower back, just for a second, an intimate, possessive touch. She leaned into it before pulling away. I went back to the grill, turning the steaks. The smoke stung my eyes. Or maybe it was the rage. Later, we sat at the patio table. I watched them eat my food. I watched Damien drink my expensive bourbon. They were talking about music. You really need to come see my set next week, Mike, Damien said, chewing with his mouth open. I wrote a new song. It's about forbidden love. You know, complex stuff. He winked at Emily. She giggled, hiding her mouth with a napkin. They were mocking me to my face. The song was probably about them. I'd love to, I said, pouring him more bourbon. Actually, Damien, I wanted to ask you something. I know you've been looking for a steady gig. He perked up. Yeah. My firm is looking for a courier. It's not glamorous, but it pays well. I could put in a good word for you. I saw Emily's eyes widen. She looked at Damien, shaking her head slightly. Don't work for him, she was thinking. Don't get that close. Nah, man, Damien laughed. I can't be tied down to a 9 to 5. I'm an artist. But he leaned in, swirling his glass. Since you brought up finances, my car is acting up. I'm a little short on the rent this month. Any chance you could flow me a loan? Just until the gig money comes in. I looked at Emily. She was studying her plate, pretending not to listen. This was it. The ultimate disrespect. Not only was he sleeping with my wife, but he was asking me to pay his rent so he had a place to take her. I reached for my wallet. How much? I asked. 500. Damien tried, looking like a predator sensing weakness. I pulled out a wad of cash. I kept large amounts on me lately. I counted out $500. Here, I said, slapping it on the table. Don't worry about paying it back. You're a legend, Mike. Damien grabbed the cash, his eyes lighting up. Seriously, a saint. I looked at Emily. She looked up at me. There was a flicker of something. Guilt? No, contempt. She thought I was pathetic for buying his friendship. Internal monologue. Take it, Damien. Spend it. Because that $500 is the evidence I need to prove you're financially exploiting me. I'm not giving you charity. I'm buying a receipt. The barbecue ended. Damien left, drunk and happy, richer by $500. I helped Emily clean up. You didn't have to give him that money, she said, scraping plates into the trash. He'll never pay you back. It's fine, I said, wiping the table. He's your best friend. Anything for family, right? She paused. Right. Then she turned to me. Her face was pale. She looked nervous. Michael, sit down. I need to tell you something. My stomach tightened. Had she found the iPad? Did she know I knew? I sat down. She took a deep breath and placed her hand on her stomach. I went to the doctor yesterday, she said. I've been feeling sick lately. And a smile broke across her face. A radiant, fake, terrifying smile. I'm pregnant, Michael. We're gonna have a baby. The world stopped spinning for the second time that week. Pregnant. We hadn't had sex in 2 months. Before that, it was sporadic. We used protection, mostly. But I knew she and Damien didn't. I read the texts. I hate condoms, babe. It feels so much better raw. Just pull out. It'll be fine. She was pregnant, and she was pinning it on me. She was trying to lock me in. A baby was the ultimate anchor. If we had a kid, I would never leave. I would work harder. I would buy a bigger house. I would support her and her bastard child forever. Michael, she asked, her smile faltering. Aren't you happy? I looked at her belly. There was a parasite growing in there. A biological proof of her betrayal. I stood up. I walked over to her. I had to hug her. I had to pretend. Oh my God, I said, my voice shaking. Wow, I know, she squealed, hugging me tight. We're finally going to be a family. Over her shoulder, I stared at the wall. My plan had just changed. I didn't just need a divorce. I needed a DNA test. And I needed to make sure that when this bomb exploded, it took everyone down with it. A family, I whispered. Yeah, just what I always wanted. That night, while she slept, I went to the bathroom. I found her hairbrush. I pulled out a clump of hair with the follicles attached. I put it in a Ziploc bag. Then I went to the trash, where she threw away her used floss. I grabbed that too. I wasn't waiting for the baby to be born. There are prenatal paternity tests, non-invasive ones. I just needed a sample from me and a sample of her blood. Getting her blood would be tricky. But getting Damien's? I looked at the beer bottle Damien had been drinking from all afternoon. It was still sitting on the patio table. I walked outside in the dark. I picked up the bottle carefully by the neck. His saliva was all over the rim. Gotcha, I whispered. The science of truth is brutal. It doesn't care about your feelings. It just gives you a percentage. I needed that percentage. I knew in my gut the baby wasn't mine, but gut feeling doesn't hold up in court, and it certainly doesn't destroy a reputation. I needed biological proof. 2 days after the barbecue, Emily had her first major prenatal appointment. I insisted on coming. I played the doting, excited father perfectly. I held her hand in the waiting room. I brought her water. The doctor, a nice woman named Dr. Evans, suggested an NIPT test, non-invasive prenatal testing. It's a simple blood draw from the mother that can screen for genetic conditions and determine the gender as early as 10 weeks. It can also be used for paternity testing if you have a sample from the father. We usually take a cheek swab from the father just to keep on file for genetic matching, Dr. Evans said, smiling at me. Absolutely, I said. Whatever is best for the baby. Dr. Evans handed me the swab kit. Just rub this on the inside of your cheek for 30 seconds, then put it in the tube. I went to the bathroom to do the swab. I locked the door. My heart was racing. I reached into my jacket pocket. Inside a sterile plastic bag was the Q-tip I had used to wipe the rim of Damien's beer bottle on Saturday. I had kept it refrigerated, praying the DNA hadn't degraded. I took the medical swab, rubbed it against my shirt to contaminate it slightly, and then threw in the trash. I took Damien's Q-tip, soaked in his saliva and backwash, and placed it into the sterile tube. I walked out of the bathroom and handed the tube to the nurse. All done, I smiled. If the baby was mine, the test would come back with a mismatch. If the baby was Damien's, the test would show a 99.9% match to the father's sample provided. Now, all I had to do was wait. While I waited, I decided to tighten the noose. I called Stone, my lawyer. Move the liquid cash, I ordered. Everything except the joint checking account used for bills. Put it in the offshore trust we discussed. Consider done, she said. What about credit cards? Flag them, I said. Mark them as compromised. Freeze them. That evening, the chaos began. I was sitting in the living room reading a book, pretending to read. I was actually watching the real-time logs of Emily's phone. Emily, babe, I'm at Sephora. My card just got declined. Embarrassing, eh? Damien, try the other one. You promised you'd pick up that cologne I liked. Emily, I tried the Visa and the Amex. Both declined. WTF? I heard the front door open. Emily stormed in, looking flustered. Michael, did you forget to pay the bills? I looked up calmly. What do you mean? My cards, they aren't working. I tried to buy, prenatal vitamins and some skin cream for the stretch marks, and the cashier looked at me like I was a criminal. Lies. She was buying cologne for him. The transaction log showed Sephora, men's fragrance. That's weird, I said, pulling out my phone. Oh damn, look at this text from a bank. Apparently, there was a security breach in their system. They froze all cards as a precaution. They're sending new ones. When? She demanded. 7 to 10 business days, I lied. 10 days, she shrieked. Michael, how am I supposed to live for 10 days? I have appointments. I have lunches. I have some cash, I said, shrugging. I pulled out a $20 bill from my wallet. Here, this should cover lunch. She looked at the $20 like it was a dirty tissue. $20? Are you joking? It's all I have on me, Em. We have to tighten our belts until the bank sorts this out. Just eat at home. It's healthier for the baby anyway. I watched her face turn red. She couldn't scream at me because I was the victim of the bank too. She had to swallow it. Later that night, the cracks in their relationship started to show in the texts. Emily, he gave me $20. 20. I can't give you the rent money this week, D. You'll have to ask your mom. Damien, my mom is broke. Emily, you said you had this handled. I need that cash. My landlord is threatening to evict me. Emily, well, what do you want me to do? Rob him? His accounts are frozen. Damien, figure it out. You're the one who got knocked up and complicated everything. Got knocked up. There it was. The romance was fading. As soon as the money stopped flowing, Damien wasn't so charming anymore. He was just a leech who was angry that his host was drying up. A week later, the email from the clinic arrived. Subject, NIPT and paternity results. I opened it on my secure laptop in my office. I scrolled past the genetic health markers, all clear. I scrolled past the gender, boy. I reached the bottom. Paternity probability, 99.99%. Conclusion, the sample provided, father, IS the biological father of the fetus. I laughed, a cold, dark laugh that echoed in the empty room. Since the sample provided was Damien's DNA, and the test confirmed it, the baby was Damien's. Science had spoken. I was raising another man's son, a man who called me an idiot. I printed the results. I didn't storm into the bedroom. I didn't confront her. I put the paper in my safe. I walked into the kitchen where Emily was eating pickles out of the jar. Great news, honey. I beamed. The doctor emailed. Everything looks perfect. Oh, thank God, she sighed. Do we know the gender? It's a boy, I said. Her eyes lit up. A boy? Oh, Michael. A son. We need to celebrate, I said, placing my hands on her shoulders. We need to throw a party. A gender reveal party. The biggest one this town has ever seen. She clapped her hands. Yes. I want balloons, a caterer, a DJ. We need to invite everyone. My parents, your parents, the whole office. And Damie, of course, I added. He's the godfather, right? Of course, she smiled, not realizing the double meaning. I'll handle everything, I promised. I'll plan the whole thing. You just rest. I want it to be a surprise. I'll take care of the reveal moment personally. You're the best husband ever, she said, hugging me. I hugged her back, staring at the knife block on the counter. I know, I whispered. I'm going to give you a reveal you will never forget. The next 2 weeks were a blur of planning. I rented a banquet hall. I hired a high-end caterer. I sent out invitations. Michael and Emily, a truth revealed, join us to celebrate the new addition. I invited her conservative, religious parents. I invited my mother, who had never really liked Emily. I invited my boss and colleagues. And I sent a special VIP invitation to Damien. I also prepared a special presentation. I hired a video editor online to compile the screenshots, the photos, and the audio recordings into a slick 5-minute video. Set to the song Damien had mocked me for playing, Wonderwall. I went to the bank, the one that wasn't frozen, and withdrew $5,000. I bought a giant box. I didn't fill it with blue balloons. I filled it with eviction notices for Damien. I bought his debt from his landlord, a fun little side quest I completed yesterday. I filled it with divorce papers, already signed by me. And I filled it with the DNA test results enlarged to poster size. The day of the party arrived. It was a sunny Sunday. The banquet hall was decorated in blue and pink. Emily looked stunning in a white maternity dress. She was glowing. Damien was there, wearing a suit I knew I had paid for via a credit card bill from 2 months ago. He came up to me, slapping me on the back. "Congrats, Mikey. A little you running around. Scary thought, huh?" "Terrifying." I agreed, handing him a glass of champagne. "Drink up, Damien. You're going to need it." The room filled up. There were about 50 people. Everyone was happy. Gifts were piled high on the table. Emily's mother came up to me, teary-eyed. "Michael, you're such a blessing to our daughter. We are so proud of you." I felt a pang of guilt. Her parents were good people. This was going to destroy them too. But collateral damage was unavoidable in war. "Thank you, Martha," I said. "I just want everyone to know the truth about our love." At 3 p.m., it was time for the speech. I walked to the microphone. The room went silent. Emily stood next to me, holding her belly, smiling like a queen. Damien stood in the front row, looking smug. "Welcome, everyone," I said, my voice amplified by the speakers. "Thank you for coming. Today is about family. It's about honesty. And it's about the future." I looked at Emily. She squeezed my hand. "Emily," I said, turning to her, "you have given me the greatest gift a man could ask for. Clarity." She frowned slightly. "Clarity?" "Yes," I said. "And today, I want to share that clarity with everyone. But first, let's see the video montage of our journey." I pointed to the giant projector screen behind us. The lights dimmed. Emily smiled, expecting a montage of our wedding photos and ultrasound scans. I signaled the DJ. "Hit it." The screen flickered to life. But instead of soft piano music, there was silence. The first image appeared. It was a screenshot of a text message. Enlarged. Crystal clear. "Damien, he's such a loser. I can't believe you let him touch you." "Emily." I just closed my eyes and pretended to you. "He's just a wallet, D." A walking ATM. A gasp went through the room. Emily froze. She stared at the screen, her mouth opening, but no sound coming out. The next slide. A photo of me sleeping, taken by Emily. Caption: "Look at this idiot. Drooling. Can't wait until he dies so we can get the life insurance." Her mother let out a scream. Emily. The video sped up. Text after text. Insults about her father. Mockery of my dead dad. Graphic descriptions of their affair. The music kicked in. Wonderwall. The recording of me playing badly with their laughter dubbed over it. Emily lunged for me. "Turn it off." "Michael, turn it off." I stepped back, calm as ice. "No," I said into the microphone. "Let's watch the ending. It's the best part." The final slide appeared. The DNA test results. Father, Damien, surname. Probability, 99.99%. The lights came back on. The silence was absolute. You could hear a pin drop. Then 50 pairs of eyes turned from the screen to Emily, and then to Damien. Damien looked like he wanted to vomit. He started backing away toward the exit. "Going somewhere, Daddy," I called out over the mic. Emily was sobbing, shaking, looking at her parents. Her father was clutching his chest. Her mother was looking at her with pure disgust. "Michael, please," she begged, reaching for me. "It's a joke, right? Tell them it's a joke." I pointed to the large box in the center of the room. "I have one last gift for you, Emily." The gender reveal. I walked over to the box. I pulled a ribbon. The sides of the box fell down. No balloons flew out. Instead, the divorce papers slid onto the floor, and the eviction notice for Damien, and a printout of my bank balance, $0. "It's a divorce," I shouted. I looked at the crowd. "Thank you all for coming. The food is paid for. The bar is open. But I'm leaving." I dropped the microphone. Thud. I walked past Emily, who was on her knees, hyperventilating. I walked past Damien, who was being cornered by Emily's furious father. I walked out the front door into the sunshine. My phone buzzed. It was a notification from a security camera in my house. The movers I had hired secretly had just finished emptying my home office and my personal belongings. I got in my car. I was broke on paper. I was single. I was homeless. But God, I felt rich. Driving away from that banquet hall felt like flying. I turned off my phone, tossing it onto the passenger seat as it vibrated continuously with calls from Emily, her parents, and confused guests. I didn't care. I drove straight to a hotel where I had booked a suite under a different name. I ordered a steak, opened a bottle of wine, and slept for 12 hours straight. The fallout was nuclear. According to Stone, my lawyer, the party didn't just end, it imploded. Emily's father apparently punched Damien in the jaw. Emily fainted or faked it. The police were called to restore order. It was the talk of the town for months. But the real show happened in the courtroom 6 weeks later. I walked in wearing a tailored suit, looking rested and healthy. Emily looked like a ghost. She was visibly pregnant now, her face puffy from crying, wearing oversized clothes that looked cheap. She was alone. Her parents weren't sitting behind her. They had cut her off. In their eyes, carrying another man's child while married and mocking their dead son-in-law was an unforgivable sin. The divorce proceedings were brutal, but short. Stone was magnificent. "Your Honor," Stone said, presenting the binder of evidence. The defendant, Emily Reynolds, engaged in a multi-year extramarital affair. During this time, she dissipated marital assets to fund this affair. We have receipts for hotels, dinners, and gift from Mr. Damien Hayes, totaling over $45,000. The judge looked at the receipts. He looked at the text messages where Emily called me a wallet. He looked at Emily with undisguised disgust. Furthermore, Stone continued, Mr. Reynolds has legally contested paternity. The DNA test confirms the child is not his. Therefore, he requests immediate severance of all parental rights and obligations. The judge slammed the gavel. Granted, because I had moved my liquid assets into protected trusts before the filing, and because we could prove Emily's financial infidelity, the division of assets was heavily skewed. The house. It had to be sold to cover the debts she had racked up on the joint credit cards I had frozen. Since the market had dipped, there was zero equity. She walked away with nothing but her personal items. No alimony, no child support, no house, no car. It was leased in my name, and I returned it. And Damien? Oh, Damien got the worst of it. Since he was proven to be the biological father, the court ordered him to pay child support. But Damien was a broke musician, right? Wrong. The court doesn't care if you're a starving artist. They impute income based on minimum wage potential. They garnished his meager earnings from his gig deliveries. But I wasn't done with him. Remember the debt I bought? The money he owed his landlord? I enforced it. I sent the sheriff to his apartment 3 days after the baby was born. He was evicted. He had to move back in with his mother, in a trailer park 2 towns over. 1 year later, I was sitting in a cafe in Barcelona. I had taken a sabbatical, using the money I had hidden, legally protected, to travel. I was learning Spanish. I was learning guitar again. And this time, no one was laughing. I checked my email. I had a filter set up for Emily, sending everything to spam. But sometimes, curiosity gets the better of you. I opened the spam folder. There was an email from yesterday. Subject, the baby's first birthday. Michael, I know you probably won't read this. I just wanted to say happy birthday. Not to you, but to, well, today is Leo's birthday. He looks a bit like you, even though I know he isn't yours. My parents still won't talk to me. Damien is gone. He ran off to California to avoid child support, but they suspended his license so he can't drive. I'm living in a studio apartment near the highway. I work double shifts at a diner. I miss you. I don't miss the money. I miss you. I miss having someone who actually cared if I was alive. I read our old texts sometimes. Not the ones with Damien. The ones with you. Before I ruined everything. Can we just talk? Please. I'm so lonely. Ing. I read the email. I took a sip of my Cordial. I looked at the sunlight hitting the cobblestones outside. I thought about the woman who called me a useful idiot. I thought about the man she laughed with while I cried at a funeral. I hit reply. I typed 2 words. Insufficient funds. I hit send. Then I blocked the address, closed my laptop, and walked out into the beautiful Spanish afternoon. They say revenge is a dish best served cold. But honestly, it tastes pretty good with a side of freedom.
Thank you for staying with me until the end. How would you have acted in the protagonist's place? Write your thoughts in the comments. More fresh and controversial stories every day on my profile. Like and subscribe to this channel.